June 3rd, 2011, Bloomington, Indiana. A blonde, 20-year-old vanishes into the night. No witnesses, no suspects, no answers. It was supposed to be just another night out for Lauren Spierer, a college student just weeks away from summer break. But by sunrise, she was gone. Not a trace, no scream, no struggle, nothing. How does someone disappear from a college town with surveillance, streetlights, and smartphones without leaving a single clue? This is not just a missing persons case. It's a haunting mystery, one that left her parents begging for answers and a town drowning in whispers. This is the unsolved vanishing of Lauren Spierer. A night like any other. Lauren Spierer was a fashion merchandising student at Indiana University. Petite, vibrant, and full of life. She stood just under 5 feet tall, weighed around 90 pounds, and had been diagnosed with long QT syndrome, a rare heart condition that made alcohol use more dangerous. Still, like many students her age, Lauren enjoyed the social life that came with being on a college campus. She came from Scarsdale, New York, a wealthy suburb just north of Manhattan. Her parents, Rob and Charlene Spierer, had worked hard to give her and her sister a comfortable life. Lauren was known to be bubbly, friendly, and always ready for an adventure. At IU, she had a close-knit group of friends and a boyfriend named Jesse Wolfe, who was also a student. June 2nd, 2011, it was a Thursday night, and the beginning of what was supposed to be a fun summer weekend. The air was warm, the streets buzzing with students celebrating the end of finals. Lauren and her friends started the evening at her apartment in the Smallwood Plaza complex. From there, they headed out to Kilroy's Sports Bar, a popular campus hangout spot. At Kilroy's, Lauren was seen having drinks and dancing. Surveillance footage would later confirm her presence at the bar just before 2:30 a.m. She had removed her shoes to walk on the sand patio and left her cell phone and shoes at the bar. That detail would become a crucial puzzle piece in the hours to come. It wasn't uncommon for patrons to kick off their shoes on the sandy patio, but leaving a phone, that was different. Lauren and her friends left the bar around 2:30 a.m. She was barefoot, unsteady on her feet. From there, they walked a few blocks to her friend Corey Rossman's apartment at 5 North Townhomes. The details from this point forward become murky, inconsistent, and loaded with unanswered questions. Lauren was noticeably intoxicated. Witnesses said she was slurring her speech, unable to stand straight. Some reports suggest she may have ingested drugs in addition to alcohol. Toxicology would never be able to confirm that. What happened over the next 2 hours is the foundation of this mystery, and it only gets more confusing. Last sighting. By 3:30 a.m., Lauren was seen at Corey Rossman's apartment. Accounts differ, but Rossman's roommate, Mike Beth, told investigators that when he returned to the apartment, he found Lauren very drunk and Rossman incapacitated. According to Beth, Rossman had been punched earlier in the evening, allegedly by Lauren's boyfriend's friend, after an argument at Smallwood Plaza. That blow to the head, Rossman later claimed, left him with memory loss. Lauren and Rossman allegedly left his apartment around 3:30 a.m. and walked to Beth's place. There, Lauren is said to have told Beth she wanted to go home. Instead of walking her back, Beth claims she left on her own, barefoot and disoriented. A neighbor's surveillance camera shows a blurry image of a young woman matching Lauren's description walking south on College Avenue around 4:15 a.m. She was seen walking with another man, later identified as Jay Rosenbaum, another friend in the group. Lauren's last confirmed sighting was around 4:30 a.m. Rosenbaum later said he saw her leave his apartment, intending to walk the short distance back to her own. It was only a few blocks, maybe a 5-minute walk from where she stood, but she never made it. No one has seen or heard from her since. That short walk, those final steps, are where the mystery begins. The panic sets in. The next morning, Lauren's roommate noticed her bed hadn't been slept in. Her shoes were missing, but her phone, purse, and keys were all still at the bar. Her roommate called Lauren's phone. It went straight to voicemail. That's when panic set in. Friends began calling around. One called Jesse Wolfe, Lauren's boyfriend, who hadn't seen her the night before. Jesse immediately knew something was wrong. He said Lauren never disappeared like this. By noon, the calls extended to local hospitals, campus police, and finally to Lauren's parents. Rob and Charlene Spierer boarded the next flight from New York. When they arrived in Bloomington that evening, they found a scene of confusion and fear. The search began immediately. Friends and family printed missing posters overnight. Lauren's smiling face was suddenly plastered on bulletin boards, storefronts, and telephone poles all over Bloomington. Social media lit up. Students who had partied just hours earlier were now canvassing streets and alleyways calling her name. The nightmare had begun. The search, the initial response was swift and overwhelming. Hundreds of volunteers showed up to search. Police brought in 9 units, drones, and helicopters. Every dumpster in the area was searched. Manholes were lifted, forested trails combed. Lauren's image was circulated across the country. National news outlets picked up the story. TV stations ran daily coverage. Candlelight vigils were held on campus. Despite all efforts, there was no sign of Lauren. No trace of clothing. No surveillance footage beyond 4:30 a.m. No credit card usage. No social media activity. No communication. Police questioned dozens of people. Every friend, every partygoer, every potential witness. But answers were few and unreliable. As the hours turned into days, and days into weeks, theories began to swirl, and suspicion started to fall on the people closest to Lauren. Inconsistencies. The statements from Lauren's friends raised red flags. Why didn't anyone walk her home? Why would they let a visibly intoxicated woman wander the streets barefoot at 4:30 a.m.? Why were their timelines so vague? Jesse Wolfe, Lauren's boyfriend, was reportedly upset with her drinking that night. He chose not to join the group. He was cleared by police, but remained emotionally distant in the public eye. Some found that unsettling. Corey Rossman, the friend who walked with her for part of the night, said he couldn't remember what happened due to the alleged punch he received. His memory gap seemed too convenient. Mike Beth said he saw Lauren leave but didn't follow. Jay Rosenbaum claimed he watched her walk away from his apartment and didn't intervene. These were her friends. Yet, no one took responsibility. Lauren's parents were vocal. They publicly stated that they believed her friends weren't being truthful. They accused some of lawyering up too quickly. One by one, those who were with Lauren that night stopped cooperating with the police. The story had begun to fracture. Theories. Dozens of theories emerged over the years. Some made sense. Others were wild speculation. Police couldn't confirm any of them. Theory 1, Lauren overdosed. The people with her panicked. They didn't want to be arrested, so they hid her body. There were rumors of drugs at the party, prescription pills, cocaine. Her heart condition would have made even a small dose lethal. But there was no evidence. Theory 2, a random abduction. Lauren was a small, vulnerable woman walking alone at night. Someone could have followed her, grabbed her, thrown her into a car. But why weren't there any screams? No tire marks? No struggle? Theory 3. She wandered into a dangerous situation. Perhaps she got lost, stumbled into a wooded area, fell into a creek. But extensive searches turned up nothing. Theory 4. Sex trafficking. Some believe Bloomington was part of a trafficking corridor. Could Lauren have been targeted, drugged and taken? Again, no evidence. Each theory opened doors and dead ends. The CCTV gap. The most frustrating part of this case might be this. Lauren disappeared in a 2-block surveillance dead zone. Cameras picked her up leaving the bar. Cameras picked her up at her friends' apartments. But the 2 blocks between her last known location and her apartment? No coverage. It was a perfect storm of visibility gaps. Had she made it to the corner? Maybe. But after that, nothing. No witnesses. No traffic cameras. Nothing to place her beyond that. It was like she vanished into thin air. Police pressure. The Bloomington Police Department quickly found itself under intense national scrutiny. FBI agents joined the investigation. They followed leads from across the country. They analyzed cell tower data, scraped social media, searched student housing. They even drained a local lake. But nothing. Every week, Rob and Charlene Spierer stood in front of reporters, begging for help. The pressure on police continued to grow. But time was the enemy, and time was running out. Unanswered calls. As the weeks dragged on, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Lauren's friends, the very people who had been with her on the night she vanished, began to withdraw. Phone calls went unanswered. Texts were ignored. One by one, those who had once been central to the investigation became harder to reach. Some changed their numbers entirely. Others quietly moved away from Bloomington. The Spierers noticed the silence almost immediately. At first, they thought it might be grief or shock, a natural response to a traumatic event. But as days turned to weeks, the silence began to feel like something more deliberate. They weren't alone in sensing this shift. The public, too, began to question the friends' lack of involvement. Why weren't they speaking up? Why weren't they helping the search, attending press conferences, or even offering moral support to Lauren's family? The press took notice. Local and national outlets began probing deeper into the backgrounds and behavior of those last seen with Lauren. Corey Rossman, Jay Rosenbaum, Mike, Beth, names that once seemed peripheral now sat at the center of a growing cloud of suspicion. Rob and Charlene Spierer stood before cameras. Week after week, their pain raw and visible. They never once accused anyone directly, but their frustration was obvious. "We're not seeking punishment," Charlene said in one interview. "We just want to know what happened to our daughter." Rumors swirled. Talk of polygraph tests began circulating. Some claimed Corey Rossman had refused to take one. Others said Jay Rosenbaum had, but never released the results. Police confirmed that polygraphs were used in the investigation, but cited confidentiality laws in refusing to comment on specific results. The more the friends remained quiet, the more the speculation grew. Internet forums exploded with theories. Amateur sleuths dissected interviews and body language. Entire podcasts emerged, dedicated solely to Lauren's disappearance. One disturbing detail emerged in these forums. Several of Lauren's friends had immediately retained legal counsel. While this is a common legal precaution, it didn't sit well with the court of public opinion. Many interpreted the move as an admission of guilt, or at least an attempt to hide something. Lauren's parents made it clear they didn't believe all of Lauren's friends were being honest. Their statements were inconsistent. Timelines didn't match, and crucial details remained fuzzy, like who saw her last and what her condition truly was. At one point, Rob Spierer said, "The people who were with Lauren that night hold the key to this mystery." And yet, they remained silent. The silence became a wall, a painful, impenetrable barrier between Lauren's grieving family and the truth. And behind that wall, still no trace of Lauren. Lauren Spierer vanished into the night and left behind a silence louder than any scream. Years have passed, but the questions remain. No suspects, no confessions, no closure. Just a town forever changed, a family still searching, and a mystery that refuses to fade. If you know anything at all, someone is still listening. Someone still cares. Because behind every unsolved case is a name, a life, and a story that deserves an ending. This was Unsolved Crime Stories. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and don't look away.